7 days International Faculty Development Program on Vision to 2022, a new outlook towards diversity and inclusion in collaboration with Himalaya University, Dehradun, Guru Ramdas B.Ed College, Jalalabad, and Kenway College of Education, Abohar. Myself, Rita Arora, Assistant Professor, Sundarbara Singh College of Education for Women, and it's my prime privilege to moderate today's session with Dr. Sushila Naran, Principal, Kenway College, Abohar. Hello, ma'am. Hello, Sushila ma'am. Are you there?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Very welcome to you, ma'am. Should we start? Sushila ma'am?
Yes, please. Hello.
Let's start the session.
Okay. Very good morning to all of you present in the today's event. Today we have a very well-renowned name, Dr. Manu Chadda, and she is serving as an associate professor in GHG Khalsa College of Education, Gursa Sadhar, Ludhiana, and she has been in this profession, profession of teacher education since 1998, and has also worked as school lecturer in chemistry for 2 years. I think she is very versatile in this field, and she is multi-talented. And she is postgraduate in chemistry, psychology, and she is a NET qualified doctorate in education. And of course, she is a certified global career counselor from US. And Manu Chadda is approved research guide of Punjab University, and she has, in her credit, 14 research scholars who has been awarded as PhD under her guidance, and 3 are pursuing PhD, and also supervised MPhil, 7 MPhil, and approximately 50 MEd dissertations. It's too good. And she has several pioneering research projects to her credit, and is currently working on research project exploring relationship between organizational citizenship behavior and total quality management among teachers of schools of Ludhiana district, sanctioned by Punjab University Alumni Relations Department, and she has co-authored 5 books and 30 chapters in various books, almost 60 papers in various reputed journals and conference proceedings, participated in more than 100 seminars and workshops, conferences, and she has also acted as a resource person and delivered around more than 20 lectures in various national and international level seminars. And she is a coordinator of IQAC of college since 2009 and coordinator of NAC for 2 cycles. And our college has accredited grade A in her supervision in both the cycles. And she has been a member of Academic Council, Punjab University, for the session 2016 and 18, and academic consultant of 2 CBSE schools and certified career counselor also, and life membership of various national and international bodies like GERA, AIAER, and Council of Teacher Education. And she is bursar of the college and bursar of the college, placement officer in charge of career counseling cell, in charge of timetable, and staff representative of her college since 2019. And
Dr. Sushila, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Even I'm feeling very motivated by reading your biodata, ma'am. It's so good and so appreciable, and I'm very happy to see that you are very passionate about special education and adopting new technology in teaching learning project, based learning and research also. It's too good, and feeling very proud also that we in the community and the teaching faculty, we have such a hardworking and passionate teacher. Thank you so much for today's session, ma'am. Welcome you from core of heart from all the organizer. Welcome, ma'am. Manu, ma'am, please continue.
Thank you, Dr. Sushila. Thank you so much.
thank you for such a comprehensive, such an exhaustive resume. Thank you so much. And on the onset, I would like to first congratulate all the collaborating organizers of all the 4 institutions for pondering on such a relevant issue, that is Vision 2022, a new look towards diversity and inclusion. My special thanks and appreciation to Dr. Tripta Parmar and her team for giving me the opportunity to participate and gain new experiences in this faculty development program. Thank you, Dr. Tripta. Thank you so much. Special words of acknowledgement to our revered Professor Pachauri sir, Himalaya University, Dehradun, my very dear and respected principals, Dr. Sushila Narayan, Dr. Sarabjit Kaur, and Professor Harpreet Kaur, for their collaborative, wonderful efforts. Hats off to your collaboration. It's always very nice seeing and admiring the efforts that you all are doing on these imperative issues. It is actually the need of the day. We all need to be updated with every little information that is required for the survival and also for the upbringing of our prospective teachers. So my prayers for you, may Almighty give you strength to carry on these kinds of efforts in future also. So if I have your permission, may I start with the discourse, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I would just like to share my screen before I start with the deliberation. Just 1 second. The screen visible? Ma'am, is the screen visible?
Yes, Manu.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible. Just a minute, someone. ये प्लीज बंद कर दो अपना माइक, किसी का ऑन है? कहाँ?
ये दोनों चीजें नहीं दिखती है ना, इसमें से कर लूं साथ में.
हेलो.
यस मैम.
मनु मैम, आपको भी आवाज सुन रही है कुछ एक्स्ट्रा की मुझे ही सुन रही है?
मैम आ रही है, एक्स्ट्रा आवाज आ रही है. हाँ
ठीक है, आवाज तो ठीक है.
अब बंद हुई है, पहले आ रही थी, अब ठीक है.
अभी किसी का माइक ऑन है प्लीज?
क्लियर आ रही है आवाज तो.
ठीक है जी, ओके.
कैमरा बंद है, चलना म्यूट करो यार.
Okay. May I start, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So before my topic for today that has been allocated to me is issues and challenges, that is barriers and challenges in inclusive education. So before I start the deliberation, I would just like to give a quick look at the background of the concept of inclusive education. Now, if we see that according to the various reports, nearly 93 million children are there who are living with some kind of disability in the world. Just like all the other normal children, these disabled children, that is differently able children, they have their own dreams, they have their own ambitions for the future. And just like normal children, they also need some kind of special care. They need some modern schooling. They are also in need of quality education to develop their skills, to develop their abilities, to understand their full potential. And another thing it has been seen is that of the total number of disabled children, there are almost 50% of these who are not in schools. They are not able to take up their education in schools, which in comparison to the non-disabled is just 13%. So there's a huge difference. Like it is 13% in all in the world, that is the non-disabled who are not able to take up education. But among the, when it comes to the disabled category, it's almost 50% who has not been able to go to schools. So these children with, may it be physically challenged, may it be mentally challenged or learning disabilities, they are often overlooked by the policymakers. There are some kind of inhibitions in their in policy making. Their access to education, their ability to participate in various social, economic, political life. And it's not only, when I'm talking about this data, I'm not talking about India alone. It's not just a single country. It's all over the world that these children are among the most likely to be out of school. Now, this is basically the background that has led to inclusive education. But before that also, just if we go to the history of special education, which almost everybody is aware of it, like if we go back to 17th, 18th century, that was the era when these children were completely, I will not say they were discriminated, but they were completely destroyed. As soon as a child, a physically challenged child or a mentally challenged child, or in other words, I'll say a differently able child was born, he or she was killed at that same moment. Then there was a sudden awareness, and plus इस killing के ऊपर एक stab लगा दिया गया था. So result was that they started keeping these children, but they were kept as slaves. They were either sent to work as labor without payment, or they were kept as slaves. Then came the era where much awareness was given, very little awareness, in fact, I'll say, was given to the parents, and these children were sent to special schools, followed by special classes where children used to stay at home but used to go to attend classes and come back home. In the previous era, that is special schools, they were just, the parents used to go and leave them once, and then the child used to live the whole life, die there only. The parents were not bothered. But special classes, the child was brought to home after school. Then this led to labeling. There was an important concept of labeling. And then it was that the policy makers decided it is not good to label somebody, it is not good to discriminate. And so the concept of delabeling started, that is concept of mainstreaming started and led to integrated education. It was this integrated education which was prevalent almost in just immediately after our independence. Almost, I'll say it was there. It was there in our country since almost till 2000s. It was the era of integrated education where the special children were put up in schools, in normal schools, and the teachers used to teach normally. No special arrangements made, no assistive devices given. मतलब वो कोई किसी तरह का कोई स्पेशल कार्यक्रम, कोई मेथोडोलॉजी, कोई टेक्नोलॉजी कुछ नहीं यूज कर रहे थे. वो जैसे नॉर्मल बच्चों को ही पढ़ा रहे थे. अब ये बच्चों की किस्मत है. It is up to the child, or it is up to the parents' efforts at home that how much the child is gaining. Then it was later decided that let's have this era, that is the era of inclusive education. That is, now this era of inclusive education was adapted as a result of the RTI Act, Right to Education Act in 2009. And this led to the opportunity to many Indian children to take admission in school, colleges, although they were facing some difficulties. Those basic difficulties were the poor economic status, it was the physical facilities. The schools were poorly cared, they were in a dilapidated condition. Schools were not catered to the needs of these children. Then the infrastructure was lacking. There were no wheelchairs, there were no ramps, there were no, there still are not, all the schools do not have brailles, they do not have that writing material for blind, they do not have those hearing devices for hearing impaired. So these were the difficulties that the students were still facing as a result of Right to Education Act. Not only that, we see that our education in India, India is basically an agricultural country. India is a developing nation. It has, and as a result, more than 70% of the people are living in rural areas, and so they find difficulty in transporting these children. Most of the schools are in cities. This inclusive education concept, when it started, I'm talking about the early 2000s, when it started, most of the schools were in cities and children were in rural areas. The result is that the children of these parents of rural areas, they face difficulties in transportation, in communication, and these children had to travel long distances, which they were unable to. इनके लिए इतना possible नहीं था travel करना, and as I quoted earlier also, the government did not provide sufficient infrastructure. The school had minimum infrastructure for non-disabled. Talking about disabled is a long story. So it was after this that the Indian planners, the policy makers, started to think over this. They started to ponder over this issue. And it was here that they started framing and adopting new policies to provide minimum infrastructure, to provide minimum amenities to these disabled children. The government of India has also created numerous policies since their independence. Like as I told you, we moved to the era of integrated education in the 20th century, that is after our independence. And 1970 a policy in 1974 was formulated. It was integrated education for disabled children, where the major focus was to provide educational opportunities to all the students in common schools. That is, यहाँ पर जो ज़्यादा जोर था, जो focus था, that was on the retention of the students. And once we were a little successful in this, that time we realized that these children are in integrated schools, but they need some kind of special attention. They need special help. And as a result, 1992, we had the RCI Act, the Rehabilitation Council Act. This act, this policy led to some kind of intervention programs, led to the identification, intervention strategies, educational programs, and this act was formulated in 95, that is the Persons with Disability Act. अब फोकस आने लग गया प्राइमरी एजुकेशन पे एंड सर्व शिक्षा अभियान पे, जिसके रिजल्ट से 1997 में इंटीग्रेटेड एजुकेशन फॉर डिसेबल्ड चिल्ड्रन at the primary level, that is District Primary Education Program, DPEP, was in 97, and in 2000 it was extended to the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. This was followed by the working of the National Trust India in 1999. This NTI basically focused on mainstreaming, and the main focus was on total literacy. IED 97 2099 इस दौरान जो ज़्यादा फोकस हम कर रहे थे वो हम टोटल लिटरेसी पे कर रहे थे, रिटेंशन ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स इन स्कूल्स लीडिंग टू टोटल लिटरेसी, and as a result a comprehensive plan was made in 2005. And if we go through this plan, we see that now it was under this plan that almost all the categories of differently abled children, be it autism, be it cerebral palsy, be it learning disabled. Firstly, it was in this plan कि हम लोगों ने ना MRs और LDs में differentiate किया. LDs का intervention strategies, educational programs को entirely different कर दिया MR से. उससे पहले even a learning disabled, even an LD was considered as an MR. So this 2005 comprehensive action plan is quite appreciable in that way. This was followed by National Policy for Persons with Disability in 2006, and the basic purpose was to create an environment to provide some kind of equal opportunities to give them sufficient protection of the rights and their full participation in different activities. मतलब कहने का कि यहाँ पर आकर हम लोग persons with disability, children with special needs, differently abled children, अब हम ये context use करना शुरू हो गए थे rather than disabled children. तो even MRs को इस time पे आके mentally challenged कहना शुरू हो गए थे. So it was here, this policy was a significant approach towards creating a good environment for such students. And it was after 2006, that is in 2009, the integrated education was replaced by inclusive education. That is the result of result of RTE, Right to Education Act. So inclusive education for disabled children at the secondary stage, RAMSA IEDSS, means inclusive education for disabled at the secondary stage. This was formulated, and then came the act that now all children need to be educated, RTE, that is Compulsory Education Act, from children of the age from 6 to 14. So this is how the policy makers, as I said, they started thinking upon it. They started planning how to frame policies. So this is how the policies, the programs, they were formulated just to show a transition from integrated education to inclusive education. So as we all know, I don't need to discuss much here. RTE, the focus was on free and compulsory education for all children, and inclusion was a debatable subject in the beginning, but then it was felt that yes, inclusion is required. Students are to be taught in mainstream classes. The teaching learning process to these children with special needs is to be given by the mainstream teacher only, with certain modifications at the end of the teacher, at the end of the school, at the end of the curriculum. So this mode of education now shifted from segregation, which I said, like these children were in special schools followed by special classes. So segregation basically means isolation. ये बच्चे isolated थे from non-disabled children. So they were just learning with their disabilities rather than learning with the non-disabled. So there was a shift from segregation to integrated education where it was the child who was expected to fit in the school culture, not the school fitting into the child, but the child had to fit himself or herself into the school culture. And this followed by inclusive education. So this is basically, that is why I said I was highly impressed by your topic, because inclusion is the need of the day. Inclusion actually means it's not just act of including, but also the state of being included. It's not that I myself get included, but even I need to be accepted. That is basically what I mean by inclusion. So inclusive education is a kind of an education system where we are to provide opportunities, we are to provide the facilities to children where they fit into these special, where we are able to nurture their special needs. We are able to provide them sufficient talent so that they can pursue their education in the mainstream classes. So here I would like to use a more appropriate term which we've been using earlier, that is LRE, inclusive education is a step towards LRE, least restrictive environment. मतलब कहने का इन बच्चों को किसी तरह के restriction में नहीं रखना, mainstreaming में ही रख के, it is the teachers who need to adjust their curriculum, need to adjust their teaching methodologies, need to adjust their, need to have more assistive devices and technologies for technology for such students. So the students here, it basically why I am focusing on this, because we here, the audience here are teacher educators, and we are all educating teachers. So it's a need of the teachers that they need to train the teachers. We all as teacher educators need to train our prospective teachers that they may provide more support so that there is equal chance of success for all these students. Inclusion के लिए हमें अपनी teaching की planning और presentation उसके accordingly ही करनी है. Again, I'll say that we need to be inclusive in our planning. We need to be inclusive in our presentation. We need to be inclusive in all the 5 steps. Where if we are following Herbertian, all the 6 steps, if we are following Herbertian's approach or any kind of approach to teaching, that is from the beginning till evaluation, we need to include all this. We need to be inclusive in this. So teachers should not say, I'm not able to do it because my students are not like that. There's no limit for pupils' involvement. Pupils can be involved as per their talents, as per their abilities. It's only the teacher who needs to know that. So friends, these days inclusion is an international buzz. We need to create opportunities for all the learners to work together. Although it's an international buzz, this term we are hearing everywhere. If you go to schools, you just go through their reservation policies, you will find that it is written they need to keep seats for, there are 25% seats for economically weaker, there are 10% seats for differently able children. So irrespective of all this, there are some barriers to inclusive education. We still, jitna marzi पॉलिसी मेकर्स हल्ला कर लें, जितना मर्जी सब कुछ हो जाए, लेकिन अभी भी हमारे इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन में बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस हैं, बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं, बहुत सारे बैरियर्स हैं. These barriers basically are some of them are internal, some of them are external, but I feel they are all overlapping. Whether we consider them as internal barriers or external barriers, it all depends on us, that how we can even change the internal barriers and how we can even overcome the external barriers. The first and foremost, I feel, is the attitudinal barrier. The societal norms, the norms of the society. Abhi bhi logon ka wohi attitude hai, oh, a disabled child has been born. Still the people are not, whether it be the parents or the family or the society, they're still not able to accept differently able children. They are not able to accept children with special needs. The blame is on the special child, not on the education system. When it comes, like if a child is not doing well in school or something, we will never say that हमारा education system में गड़बड़ होने के कारण we are not able to manage. We'll say the child is like that, because that's our attitude. When it comes to, as we're talking about inclusive education, we see still there is there's lack of interaction between the disabled and the non-disabled. They do not like interacting with each other. In fact, they bully them. The non-disabled bully their differently able children. They are excluded from their normal activities. They are discriminated when it comes to some kind of activities. So this attitude is, I think, the biggest barrier, which I feel is there in the when it comes to inclusive education. Then the physical barrier. Physical barrier means as I have told earlier also, 70% of our population are 70% of our population is a rural population, but school, and the schools are in cities, so the schools are not accessible to them. The buildings, as I said, are dilapidated. They are poorly cared buildings, not catering to the needs of such children. There is, firstly, the government is not ready to provide finance, and even if it is ready, they don't have funds to provide. So lack of funds for financial support. There are no assistive devices, no wheelchairs, no ramps in the schools. There's no assistive technology for these children. Then, above all, the curriculum. Now, here I will not only here for the curriculum, I'll say, firstly, our curriculum is centralized. सेंट्रल लेवल पे करिकुलम बना है. हम ना तो अर्बन रूरल गैप देख रहे हैं बीच में, हम कोई लोकल गैप नहीं देख रहे हैं. सेम करिकुलम इज studied by the metropolitan students and same by the rural students. It's a very rigid curriculum, not catering to the local needs. Heavily packed the curriculum. Above all, incompetent teachers, highly unprofessional teachers, non-proficient teachers. I'm sorry I'm using these words, but we are finding this, and this is the biggest barrier in this. To some extent, I say that teachers के ऊपर एक limitation भी है, क्योंकि वहाँ पर curriculum आ जाता है. Teachers को mind में होता है we have to finish the syllabus. We have that danda on our head that we have to finish the syllabus. As a result, we are not able to do justice with these children. Lack of technology, lack of even technical ability on the part of the teachers. Many of the teachers are not technically sound. Then when it comes to psychological testing, some of the teachers have no idea about these psychological tests. Some of the teachers, if they are told they will administer the test, but they are not able to assess. Assessment नहीं करते, assessment करके result निकाल देंगे तो follow up नहीं करते. कहने का मतलब कि हमारा जो teaching teachers हैं, उनको हमने इनके हिसाब से train ही नहीं किया है. Funding, as I said earlier also, this can be easily reflected through the scarcity of funds that we have. We see that we have scarcity of resources. ना हमारे पास facilities हैं proper, ना हमारे पास कोई assistive technologies हैं, ना assistive devices हैं, ना सबसे बड़ी dearth of teachers. हमारे पास तो teachers भी proper नहीं हैं. So lack of updation of these teachers and these professionals in this is also a reflection of this inadequate funding. Now, a very important point, very important barrier, the organization of the education system. Now, we all at our level are also facing this problem. I will not quote it here, it's not the right problem. But what we see is that the policies are made by that end of the people. It's made by that, I'll say that bar of the people. Staircase का वो वाला बार है जिनका कोई डायरेक्ट कांटेक्ट ही नहीं है इन लोगों के साथ. पॉलिसी मेकर्स हायरार्की में सबसे ऊपर बैठे हैं और उनका नीचे तक जब जहां ये बच्चे आते हैं उन तक उनका कोई हायरार्की में वहां आकर ही उनकी टॉप के बाद वहां से लैडर ब्रेक हो जाती है. The responsibility immediately is transferred to the lowest level, that is the teachers, and there is no communication between the various stakeholders. So in just one nutshell, I'll say policy makers are inappropriate. The actual people who are a part of all this are not involved in this. And as such, my last point that is policies, वो इतनी compartmentalized हैं कि वो खुद ही एक barrier बन जाती हैं. The location of the school that we have already said is a problem. Admission, again, as I said, when you go to when you see the reservation policy, it is mentioned there that the schools schools need to keep some reservation, but all the schools do not grant admission. All schools do not grant admission to these people. Happily, the school authorities are not very welcoming. एक जैसे ही पेरेंट्स बच्चे लेके जाते हैं पहले तो the principal has that frown, then the teachers have that frown. How are we going to manage? So this the community. हाँ जी
तुम पीपीटी शो कर रहे हो जी?
हाँ जी नहीं दिख रही?
Not it is not visible.
मैं जब पहले पूछा सी थे
Ma'am, from the very beginning, it is not visible, ma'am. Like from the very first slide, हम नहीं देख पा रहे.
After that, not.
गुरजीत थोड़े को पीपीटी है
Appreciate.
गुरजीत
हाँ
ਤੁਸੀਂ
जी।
शेयर करो फिर ਤੁਸੀਂ कर
Okay, okay.
हाँ जी
Okay जी, okay. मैं कर रही हूँ.
ਤੁਸੀਂ कर दो
तू चला रखे माइक ऑफ है
Sorry, but I thought it's working. I asked in the beginning and I thought उसके बाद की चल रही है. I'm sorry. Try once again. गुरजीत मैम हो रही है मैं दोबारा ट्राई करा
मैम जस्ट वेट 2 मिनट ही
अच्छा कोई गल नहीं हो रही है तो ठीक है नहीं तो मैं क्या मैं दोबारा ट्राई करा
नहीं मैम हमें शेयर कर रही है मैं जस्ट उन्हें ओपन की थी
I think now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Now it is visible, ma'am.
Now it is visible. You want me? We can just go through all the slides and I'll just. गुरजीत तुसी एक एक करके बच्चा सारी slides F5 कर लो बेटा फिर मैं एक बारी just. Can we have it as a full screen or it's going to be a slideshow only?
Yes, ma'am. Full screen, ma'am.
चलिए आगे।
मैम नेक्स्ट जी।
हाँ जी नेक्स्ट आ जाओ आगे। मूव नहीं कर रही। I think the same problem was with me. I'm not very comfortable with Google Meet. We generally use Zoom in college. उदय थोड़ा हाँ ना पीछे आ जाओ बेटा. You come to the slide number. This slide on barriers वाली है. Gurjeet, I think it should be the 5th or the 6th slide.
Okay.
हाँ जी, इस तो ऊपर और ऊपर. This one, the 10th slide. It is the 10th slide. 10th. Do we want to see all the slides again? Sushila ma'am, सारी दोबारा.
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am. You resume from where you have left, ma'am.
Okay, then. Right, done. Thank you.
Continue from where you have left.
Okay, thank you. So basically, this was, as I was saying, that the location of the school, we've already focused on this earlier also, that since students are basically from rural areas, and the schools were in cities, so the location of the school, it's not easily accessible to all the children. And since children with disability, they are not able to travel long distances, so the location of the school. Then I was basically discussing about the enrollment factor, where I said that when it comes to admissions, if we see that although the RTI Act 2009 has focused on this concept that it is mandatory, it is compulsory for all students to take admission in schools, and on the other hand, school authorities have also been assigned this, that they have to give admission to all the students. It is compulsory for them that they cannot deny admission. लेकिन फिर भी अगर कोई बच्चा child with special needs अगर जाता भी है, the principal is not very comfortable, he or she is not welcoming, the teachers are not accepting the child. So this factor, the admissions, also affects the enrollment of such students. Then commutation, lack of transport, then even the bullying factor, the infrastructure, the material factors, the technology, and a very important factor under this educational barrier is the size of the classroom. The classes, the number of students are so large that teacher cannot. अब अगर एक क्लास में 50 बच्चे होंगे तो and normal and children with, अगर क्लास में 2 भी children with special needs है ना, teacher is not able to do justice because of the size of the classroom. Untrained teachers, I've already told you, the economic conditions is another factor which is also affecting the economic condition of the parents, the school, as well as the country. All are in some way or the other affecting it. So next slide, please. So these are some of the important barriers. Now, next slide, Gurjeet. Now, once the child is in a inclusive school also, then also he or she is facing challenges. Slide number 11. Next slide. Once the child is there, then also he or she is facing some kind of difficulties. Once a student takes admission in inclusive school, then also the major challenge is the special education needs. The major challenge is the special education needs. Gurjeet, next nahi ho rahi beta? Next, please. Special education needs. Now, if we say the special education, now the way the special education is seen in our country, that itself makes it a barrier. नहीं, बेटा इससे ऊपर है. 11 number slide. 11. Yes, this. Yeah. Thank you. Now, the way special education is seen in our country, it itself makes it a barrier. As I said, we started focusing from labeling to delabeling, but this, when a child is there, even in inclusive school, he or she is labeled, he or she is discriminated. तो major challenge जो बच्चे face कर रहे हैं inclusive classes में, ये जो मैं आपको थोड़े से challenges बता रही हूँ, although they are theoretical, but I would just like to put up that I have already carried out a research work on this also. I've carried a small project, and these are also the results of my project. That it is the special education needs itself is a barrier to is a major challenge in inclusive classrooms. The children are labeled, the children are discriminated. So एक ये main barrier है. दूसरा barrier जैसे हम कह रहे हैं, ये अब मैं आपको जो results बता रही हूँ, ये मैं अपनी एक उसके basis पे बता रही हूँ, research. I have carried out a research myself on the inclusive education, and it's a result of that, where I found that it is a negative attitude, it is a non-cooperating attitude of the various stakeholders, from the principals to the teachers and the parents, and top to bottom, side to side, जितने stakeholders हमारे education system में आते हैं, सबका एक बहुत negative attitude है, सबका एक बहुत non-cooperating attitude है, and that results in excluding these children from the society, discriminating them in the society, which, as a result of which, we have seen that there's some kind of fear, there's some kind of ignorance, there's a lack of awareness among these children. The reason being attitude of the attitude of various stakeholders. बहुत educational programs carry out कर लिए गए हैं. They to reach out to these children, but children with disability, children, and society has been doing lots and lots. We have autistic society, we've got so many programs for them, but irrespective of those programs, the social exclusion factor, the negative attitude, the social discrimination factor still lies over there. It is still there. Besides that, even an environmental exclusion factor. Environmental exclusion factor means public places per. When it comes to public buildings, when it comes to public places, when it comes to public transport facilities, there is a total disregard for the access to these children. I will just give one live example here. You must have all read it in the newspaper also. It was there in the news around 2-3 weeks back. कि एक आपने ध्यान दिया होगा कि एक parent, they had a teenage child who was disabled. He was a child with special needs. Probably, I will not classify him as an MR completely, but he was basically to some extent autistic and even an LD. वो उसको plane पे लेकर जा रहे थे. आपने न्यूज़ सुनी होगी. I will not name the airlines people because they were.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So
yes,
they
ma'am.
were taken.
We have heard. Yes.
Yes. So you must have all heard about it. Now here, what you want
Yes,
me to complete this, or you've heard of it? Chalo, I'll just complete in a nutshell.
Ma'am, about rest of the crowd, maybe not known to the others, ma'am.
It was not the rest of the crowd. The child was actually in a panicky state.
नहीं मैम, what I'm saying is कि बाकी लोगों को शायद ये information news नहीं मिला होगा शायद.
हाँ जी ठीक है, thank you. हाँ जी, उससे वो बच्चे को ना शायद थोड़ा पैनिक की सिचुएशन में था, और जब हम एरोप्लेन के बाहर जो सीढ़ियाँ होती हैं वो चढ़नी थी, वो वहीं पर चिल्लाना शुरू हो गया. The parents were in a little difficulty, and जो एयरलाइंस वाले थे उन्होंने कोऑपरेट करने की बजाय उन्होंने बोला वी कैन नॉट स्पेंड सो मच टाइम ऑन यू मैम, हम लोगों के पास इतना टाइम नहीं है, आप लोग रहने दो, आपका बच्चा चिल्ला रहा है, वो जा नहीं सकता है, ये वो दे वर नॉट नॉन कोऑपरेटिव, नेगेटिव एटीट्यूड, एंड दे वर सेंट बैक. Now such news, these days goes viral like anything. By the time they reached the boarding area, the news went viral, and immediately the authorities, because कोई भी एयरलाइंस नहीं चाहेगा, वैसे ही आजकल इतने लॉस में चल रहा है, इन्फ्लेशन पहले ही इतना है एयरलाइंस को भी और हर जगह हर एक इंडस्ट्री को, तो इमीडिएटली दे कॉन्टैक्टेड द पेरेंट्स कि प्लीज आप मीडिया में नहीं जाओ, आप कुछ नहीं करो, ये नहीं वो नहीं, हम आपको. द चाइल्ड वाज मेड इजी, पेरेंट्स वर सेंट इन अ स्पेशल फ्लाइट, नेक्स्ट फ्लाइट में उनको भेजा गया, एंड द पायलट वाज स्यूड, द क्रू वाज स्यूड, I mean, the case is going on. So what
Yes,
I
ma'am.
am not
Ma'am,
considering.
this case is specially taken care by the अपना जो aviation minister है, ma'am, India.
बिल्कुल
He is personally taking care of this particular case, ma'am, so that future may we can avoid such incidents to be happen, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, great. Yeah, this is, yes, you're very right. Yes, this is their basic reason why what I am now correlating here is, I said it's the social discrimination or the exclusion factor is not only at the end of the schools, it is even at the end of the at the public end पे भी हम लोग बहुत वेलकमिंग नहीं होते ऐसे बच्चों के साथ. तो ये हमें थोड़ा सा ये प्रॉब्लम अब हम लोग को भी अगर लाइक आई रिमेम्बर 2-3 लास्ट ईयर वी हैड इन आवर कॉलेज वी हैड अ चाइल्ड हु वाज विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड. तो शुरू में हम लोग को लग रहा था कि हाउ टू कोप अप, बट देन लेटर things came out to be very easy because we all sat together and said ki yes, it can be done. We used to like, we said okay, when we are teaching, like I used to go for the class, I used to say, his name was Aman, I used to say, Aman, apna phone na mere dais ke upar rakh de beta, so that whatever I am talking, at least it will be recorded and you can listen to me. And all the teachers were doing that. We were giving him recorded lessons because we do not have braille. We did not have braille that time. Now we are planning to get it. हमारे पास braille नहीं था ना हमारे B.Ed के notes braille language में है. हम ले भी आए machine तो हमारे notes तो नहीं है. तो this was the way we were following. So what I actually want to say is कि एक शुरू में तो लगा था जब वो आया, how are we going to manage things? So this is basically I want to say, I want to focus on, and just since we are all into teaching and we are all researchers, I would just give you a very small advice because see, research is my passion. So Sheila ma'am ने भी बताया था, वैसे भी research एक मेरा बहुत ज़्यादा पुराना passion है. तो छोटे-छोटे projects अपने level पे. Don't wait for ICSSR, don't wait for university, don't wait for UGC to give you a project. I think these small projects, अब ये जो मैं आपको अपना inclusive education का कह रही हूँ, it was not funded by anybody and it I hardly spent any money on it. मैंने सिर्फ गिन के 5 schools लिए थे. मैंने ज्यादा schools भी नहीं लिए थे, पायलट स्टडी की थी. सिर्फ मुझे एक ये देखना था कि ये एटीट्यूडनल, और ये लिया क्यों था, जब ये एमएड में ये टॉपिक इंक्लूड हुआ था. This topic was included in MEd. So I just wanted to know that what actually is the scene rather than seeing it theoretically. So just keep taking small projects. And if we go through our NEP 2020, ना उसने तो हमें वैसे भी इतना विजन दे दिया है कि हम बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं. तो हमारा ज्यादातर कंस्ट्रेंट क्या होता है, हम जब बात करते हैं ना, मैं भी, नॉट ओनली यू, एवरीबडी, वी ऑल से यूजीसी को अप्लाई किया, अभी तक मिला नहीं, ICSSR को किया, मिला नहीं कोई देता, ना दे यार. हमने तो खुद अपना रिसर्च इंप्रूव करना है ना, हमने खुद अपने रिजल्ट्स फाइंड आउट करने. टेक स्मॉल प्रोजेक्ट्स लाइक दीज एंड दे विल बी हेल्पफुल टू यू. एंड okay, now coming to the next, besides the attitudinal, as I said, social exclusion and discrimination, this is a part of the previous slide only. अभी मैं पिछली slide पर ही हूँ. तो एक और फैक्टर है peer pressure. Peer pressure जो है, क्योंकि हमारे जो हम सब देखो, we believe in peer teaching, peer learning. Peer learning is actually very beneficial and peer pressure is equally troubling. So peer pressure also affects. Peer pressure जैसे क्यों, क्योंकि ये वाले बच्चे जो हैं, ये नॉन डिसेबल्ड चिल्ड्रन के साथ एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है. इनका नॉन डिसेबल्ड चिल्ड्रन जो है वो दे आर टीज्ड बाय देम, दे आर बुलीड बाय देम, दे आर नॉट टेकन केयर बाय देम, देयर disability factor is not taken up well by their peers, so there's a pressure in their mind. And another factor is attitude of the regular teachers. Here we've already taken up the concept of teachers, but I'll say that since we've studied special education and we've studied and we make our children study. हमारे जो students है B.Ed के, हम उनको special education B.Ed में भी पढ़ाते हैं, M.Ed में भी पढ़ाते हैं. But what we see is that the teachers are not, we just teach them theory. We've taught all categories to our students in B.Ed and M.Ed. हमने सबने पढ़ी है. हमने intervention strategies या educational program को practically नहीं पढ़ा. और इसलिए हम अप्लाई नहीं कर पाते, और हम ये सोचकर चलते हैं कि रिसोर्स टीचर आएगा. हु इज अ रिसोर्स टीचर? Resource teacher is that in normal schools also some special people, some experts in that field come. So teachers are dependent on resource teachers. But friends, resource teachers का concept वहाँ पर चाहिए जो एक normal teacher generally नहीं. जैसे अब मैं एक normal teacher हूँ, मेरे बच्चे को फिजिकली कोई प्रॉब्लम है, उसको फिजियोथेरेपी की क्लास चाहिए होती है. वो क्लास में बैठा बैठा थोड़े टाइम बाद उसकी बॉडी अकड़ जाती है, उसकी आर्म अकड़ जाती है. सो नीड सम काइंड ऑफ एक्सरसाइज. अब वो एक्सरसाइज मैं नहीं बता सकती बिकॉज आई एम नॉट अ फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ अ रिसोर्स टीचर शुड बी वेलकम. Teachers, normal teachers should not throw their responsibility on the resource teachers. What I saw was in the schools, जो नॉर्मल टीचर्स वो कहते थे अब हमें थोड़ा पता है कि हमने इनको कैसे लिखना सिखाना है. हमने लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी जब पढ़ा था तो उसके अंदर हमने एकेडमिक में रीडिंग, राइटिंग, अरिथमेटिक सारी डिसेबिलिटीज पढ़ी हैं, सारे एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स पढ़े हैं, लेकिन हमने वो एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स केवल थ्योरेटिकली पढ़े हैं, हमने उनको अप्लाई करना नहीं सीखा. So that is another problem. And then generally we have this feeling, now these students are a distraction. अब ये कुछ पूछेंगे, ये distract करेंगे, ये disturb करेंगे. और ये केवल मैं जब कह रही हूँ ना, it's not only for the children, disabled children, we are not even very comfortable with the gifteds. Because gifted children, we have this feeling, बहुत question पूछते हैं, syllabus नहीं खत्म होता. तो कहने का मतलब कि regular teacher का जो attitude है वो भी एक इस तरह का है कि they are a disturbance to the class, they cause some kind of distractions. ठीक है, next slide. Third main barrier is the school. School itself acts as a barrier. School itself acts as a barrier. In the next slide, I've already taken up these points, just winding up. As I said, the admission, the enrollment, the transportation, the buildings, the infrastructure, it's not well equipped, it's not according to the needs of the students. We do not have assistive devices. हमारे आप देखो किसी स्कूल में व्हील चेयर्स नहीं है, किसी स्कूल में रैम्प्स नहीं है, लिफ्ट्स तक तो मैं आ ही नहीं रही हूँ क्योंकि वो तो बहुत एक एक्सपेंसिव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का पार्ट है. We do not have like for writing, if you have a child who has some kind of disability in the arm, we need to have those resting devices, so where we need to have those plug pins जहाँ पर पेपर उसका मतलब कॉपी उसकी मुड़े ना. ये कोई डिवाइसेस स्कूल में नहीं है. साइज ऑफ द क्लासरूम इज नॉट अप टू द मार्क. करिकुलम इज ओवरपैक्ड, रिजिड, नॉट फ्लेक्सिबल. Teachers, I've already told up, and even the organization of the education system and the resources. Funding नहीं थी, तो मैं एक कॉमन में ये मैंने जो रिजल्ट्स निकाले, ना ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज थे, ना मनी के रिसोर्सेज थे, ना कोई पॉलिसीज बनाने के रिसोर्सेज थे. तीनों रिसोर्सेज यहाँ पर लैकिंग थे. ये थे रिजल्ट्स जो मैंने एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट कैरी आउट किया था, एक स्मॉल लेवल पे अपना प्रोजेक्ट कैरी आउट किया था. Now coming to so winding up all these, the next slide, Gurjeet, please. So winding up all the barriers, we've already taken up. It is the attitude, it is the curriculum, it's the physical barriers, it's the teachers, the funding, organization. This is a summarization. One point that I've taken up is expectations, which I did not cover earlier. We as teachers expect the same way from children with special needs what we are expecting from normal children. We as parents also expect, हमारी expectations उनके लिए भी उतनी की significant है. हमारी parents की expectations उतनी ही है जो कि एक normal non-disabled child की है. So ये हमारे कुछ barriers हैं, कुछ issues हैं, कुछ challenges हैं teacher education, inclusive education. Next slide, please. Now, how to overcoming these challenges in the inclusive setup. Next, please. Inclusive setup में slide number 14 कि क्या challenges है. वहाँ पर हम देखते हैं कि अब देखो हमारे challenges में हमने कहा था attitude, policies, जो points मैंने पिछले cover किए उन्हीं से. सबसे पहले तो पॉलिसीज की एग्जीक्यूशन, हम इसमें ही कैसे इम्प्रूवमेंट कर सकते हैं. अब हमें कोई पॉलिसी नहीं बनाने देगा, पॉलिसीज विल बी मेड एट द हायरार्किकल ऑर्डर, टॉप पे ही बन रही हैं. बट as a main stakeholder, being actually responsible, we can be committed, we can be sincere in executing these policies. हम constitutional rights को, provisions को mind में रख के, considering all the loopholes, considering all the technicalities, we can help in executing these policies. We can change our attitude towards disability by creating awareness, by spreading awareness, by creating a positive social attitude towards these differently able children, towards this marginalized component of the society. हम एक awareness create कर सकते हैं. We can create awareness among the parents through print media, through social media, so as to reduce the resistance of the parents, so as to make them more resilient towards such children. As teacher educators, when it comes to preparing our prospective teachers, हमारे B.Ed और M.Ed के students को हम इस तरह से train कर सकते हैं, मेन स्ट्रीम में जाकर भी उनमें किस तरह से स्किल्स डेवलप करें कि वो इनकी प्रॉब्लम्स को आइडेंटिफाई कर सके, क्योंकि main thing is that they are not able to identify also. Almost 20% of the students in the class, you will find them as learning disabled. ठीक है, but teachers उनको ना low achievers में नालायक ये कहकर कर देते हैं. Identify them, उनकी intervention strategies, intervene करो, strategies बनाओ और उसके accordingly program बनाओ. Link research and practice. Focus on research, focus on intervention programs. हमारी society, हमारी university इतने institutions बना देते. We've got so many chairs. Just open any university, be it Punjab University, be it any kind of university, state, center, national level की कोई university देखो, इतनी chairs बना देते हैं. I've never heard of a chair of special any chair or any institution being set up by the university or by the college for these special children, for these disabled children. This is required. That is how we can link our research and practice. Then peer coaching. As I said, peers are very important. Our own friends are important in our teaching learning. हमारी teaching learning process ज़्यादा better होता है, इसलिए we need to promote for peer teaching. We need to promote peer teaching for better teaching learning process. Next slide, please. So, friends, inclusive teacher is a professional teacher. Next slide, please. Slide number 15. Inclusive teacher is a professional teacher. The teacher should recognize individual differences. When I am talking about an inclusive teacher, I'm talking about all the teachers. Even we are a part of inclusive teacher. जो हमारे students school में जाएंगे, वो भी inclusive teachers हैं, हम खुद भी inclusive teachers हैं. We are all professionals. We are not different. We should not depend on the resource persons. We are all professionals. We should recognize the individual differences. We should plan relevant strategies and implement those learning strategies accordingly. एक team sharing हमारे में होनी चाहिए. Gone are the days when what I had, I'm not going to share with the other person. Now it's now is the time of viral media. जितनी information आपके पास है viral करो, ताकि आपको आपकी information में और gain आएगा और improvement आएगा. So viral करो, जितना share कर सकते हो. Team sharing of knowledge, making decisions, solving problems. And for just winding up all this, I can say that we can follow this 6-step process to promote inclusive education. First and foremost is building a common vision. A common vision बनाओ. Who are we? हम लोग कौन हैं? What are we here for? What do we want to do? And what are the goals? What are the expectations? What are the interests? क्यों हम ये कर रहे हैं? Why are we doing it? Once we build that common vision, then we can recognize a reality. How are we? Why are we like this? We need to analyze. And on the basis of that analysis, decision making. You can decide, you can make proposals to improve the present. Participation agreements bana sakte hum log. We can build our own agreements, how we can participate. And on that basis, we will develop proposals. What are we doing to change the situation? Who all are doing? For this, it's not that I'm the leader, I only need, jitne log mujhe chahiye, we need to, everyone needs to know what each and everyone is doing. It's not that कि I am doing this, so मुझे पता, मुझे अपना नहीं बताना, मैं आपको आपका बताऊंगी, आप अपने तक सीमित. No, everyone needs to know what others are doing. That's going to, that will help in the next step, that is evaluating our act. How much have we done? How much do we need more? कितना एडवांस हम हो चुके हैं और अभी हमारी क्या कमियां रहेगी? वेयर डू वी नीड, व्हाट मॉडिफिकेशंस वी नीड. थर्ड स्टेप में जो हमने एग्रीमेंट्स बना रहे थे डिसीजन मेकिंग के दौरान, क्या वो एग्रीमेंट्स हम पूरे कर सके हैं? आर द एग्रीमेंट्स वर्किंग? आर दे एप्लीकेबल? व्हाट मॉडिफिकेशंस नीडेड? वेयर वी नीड टू मेक एडजस्टमेंट्स on that basis we are going to begin anew. That is, which areas do we need to improve? What do we do, and what steps for the next for improvement? So this step, these 6 steps, if we follow, we as teacher trainees, we in our teacher training program can focus on this. So that's just a write-up of what I had said, was that having a common vision. उसके लिए हमें इंक्लूजन की फिलॉसफी, उसका लीगल फ्रेमवर्क, उसकी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. एजुकेशनल पॉलिसीज किस तरह वो डाइवर्सिटी को प्रमोट कर सकती हैं, उसकी जो मैंने स्टार्टिंग से कि कैसे हिस्टोरिकली इवॉल्व हुई हैं ये सारी, उसके बारे में. What are then focusing on the possibilities and the support systems of the students, how we can prevent the barriers, what are the limitations they are going to face, and how we can overcome those, help them in overcoming the limitations. For that, we'll be we'll be including strategies जो large groups में भी हो सकती हैं, small groups में भी हो सकती है, 1-to-1 meetings भी हो सकती हैं. तो जिसमें हम जैसे हम लोग इनके साथ काउंसलिंग भी कर सकते हैं. We can have some kind of assessment criteria for them. We can collaborate with professionals so as to gain information. So this is basically how, as teacher trainings, in the teacher training program, and in that, just summing up, we can say, next slide please, mentoring is an important process. And ये mentoring का process already हमारी इंटर्नशिप में इंक्लूड हो भी चुका है. नॉर्मल के लिए चाहे हम कर रहे हैं, चाहे इंक्लूसिव स्कूल्स में. आप ये देखो, हम जब अपने स्टूडेंट्स को भेजते हैं तो हम उनको कहते हैं you are to be associated with experienced teachers. So this is there. Mentoring means that new teachers to be associated with experienced teachers, where they'll be reviewing sessions. And this part, mentoring, we've already implemented in our internship, where we see that we ask them, and NAC ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से पूछा हुआ है कि आपके बच्चे किस तरह की मेंटरिंग कर रहे हैं, वो क्या पोजीशन लेते हैं. हमको हर एक स्टूडेंट स्कूल जाते की डिटेल देनी पड़ती है कि is he guiding or is he just assisting, or so पहले असिस्टेंट से ही गाइडेंस पे आएंगे, फिर एडवाइस, एंड देन टेक अप अ co-responsibility followed by a responsibility. So this is basically how we can overcome. So summing up, overcoming, next slide please. So as I said in the beginning, it's again this, that overcoming can be through human resources, it can be through financial resources, or it can be through access to information and knowledge, that is through awareness sessions. So overcoming these barriers to inclusive education will require additional funding in all our efforts of inclusion. So with this, I end up here. And thank you so much, everybody, for your patient hearing. Now the house is open for discussion. Anything that we can discuss upon?
If anyone have any questions, she simply
unmute yourself and or you can write in the chat box.
Ma'am, I want to know, you have told us about reservation for the disabled people.
Yes.
Is this practically, is this happening, ma'am? And if it is like, what is the percentage? What is the rate? Are the schools following this reservation for disabled? I'm saying, ma'am. Are they actually following this, ma'am?
See, as per the state government, you all know that we follow a reservation policy in Punjab in our admissions. So for the higher education, we are following that reservation policy. And for schools, they are following reservation policy, which is like when it comes to government schools, they are following the same as the state government is giving, the ones that we are following. But when it comes for the CBSE schools, they cannot deny admission. There is one clause that has been given by CBSE that they will admit the student as per his or her abilities. ठीक है, तो वहां थोड़ा सा बैरियर कहाँ आता है? वहां बैरियर आता है जो मैंने पॉइंट कहा, रेजिस्टेंस ऑफ द पेरेंट्स. लाइक व्हेन दे सी द चाइल्ड, when the child goes and they see the child, they realize कि the child is not able to write this much. Like for example, I think a class 1 or 2 child is supposed to be knowing addition and all. So when they take a simple test, it's because interviews are banned. When they take a simple test and they realize कि the child cannot even write 1, 2, 3 अभी properly, तो वो उनको बोलते हैं आपका बच्चा है जरूर 11 years का, 10 years का, एलिजिबल उसकी है, एलिजिबिलिटी उसकी क्लास 1 या 2 के लिए, बट एबिलिटी उसकी जो है दैट इज फॉर क्लास नर्सरी. So the child is admitted. It is there in almost all the CBSE schools. So if a school is not admitting, we can always cross question them and say, are you affiliated to CBSE? So please show us that why are you not taking admission, or otherwise we'll show you that clause that you can take it. But for government schools, they still have that reservation policy that we are following.
What about public schools, ma'am? Private schools?
Yes, they have to. They all are following this policy that they cannot deny admission. But मैं वही आपको कह रही हूँ, प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आ जाती है? प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है पेरेंट्स की रेजिस्टेंस के एंड पे, कि हमको लगता होता है कि हम उस स्कूल में ही जाएं जो उसको सेकंड में ले लेगा, क्योंकि वो 11 साल का है, हम नर्सरी में क्यों डालें? इवन वी आर नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट दिस. आपने जब स्पेशल एजुकेशन पढ़ा होगा तो आपने उसके अंदर एक एबिलिटी ग्रुपिंग पढ़ा था. हम लोग एक जो there is in case of it's I think in case of learning disabled जो classification है, that is aptitude ability. तो हम aptitude ability की accept.
Aarti, I want to make the point clear that in even ICS schools, they have written at the entrance of the schools that according to 2009 education policy, they are bound to give this facility.
Okay.
They cannot deny admission. You can cross question them, you can sue them if they are denying admission. No school, whether it be public, private,
Okay, the next query.
deny admission. Okay, Hanji, next.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any query? मैम आपने इतना अच्छा थैंक यू मैम.
Okay.
Talked about policies and programs in different era for the transmission to segregation to integration and inclusive education. You also discussed about internal and external barriers. Also discussed about internal and external barriers, and also shared with us about pilot research-based research on the barriers of inclusive education. You also suggested the ways to overcome these challenges. You also discussed about 6 steps to inclusive education as teacher training, building a common vision, recognition of the reality, decision making, developing proposals, evaluating for actions, building a new one. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your patient hearing. Thank you, Dr. Tripta, Dr. Sushila, Dr. Gurjeet. Thank you all. And Gurjeet, I think some of them want the PPT. You already have it. In case there is a group, ma'am, you may please share it with them. I have no issues.
Yes, we will share.
In case there is a group, then it can be shared there. Otherwise, anybody can just put in a message to me. I think everybody has my number. Otherwise, it's 9417 000 719. 9417 000 719. So I'll send it personally. If there's a group, then Dr. Gurjeet will share it.
Yes, ma'am. We will share in the group.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the management and all the faculty members and all present here, second session, that was Dr. Tripta. Now shifting to
Ma'am, can I leave?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Manu. It was very nice listening to you.
Thank you.
And we will be looking forward such more sessions from
No
you,
worries,
ma'am.
ma'am. Always welcome. You just have to give a call. I am always there for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Nice,
Always there for
nice,
you.
very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sushila, ma'am. Thank you so much for moderating the session, ma'am.
Thank you,
And,
Dr. Sushila. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Tripta, ma'am.
It is all mine, ma'am.
Thank you all.
We will share, not yours only, ma'am. We will share the pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and
Thank
all
you.
the best
Looking
to
forward
everyone.
for you all. Ma'am, आ जाओ कभी चक्कर लगा लो आ जाओ.
Manu ma'am, one thing. Manu ma'am, one thing. On Monday, we are having special children in the college. If you can afford.
Monday, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to just check what basically is what are you planning to do and what is this?
Ma'am, we will be having special children from Darpan School for special children in Moga. 5 to 7 children will be here with their coordinator or the teacher or the guide.
Okay.
And we will be having session with Dr. Sarabjit Kaur from Sidwa.
Acha, she's there. Okay, sir. Chalo, I'll try my level best, ma'am. I'll try my level best. Otherwise, I'll join online. Online, I'll surely be there.
That is the program for. We will be online. It will be hybrid only. We will be online on Google and YouTube. We will be there.
Okay.
And you can give your inputs from there also, ma'am.
Sure.
And thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure,
And one
sure,
thing
sure.
is Aarti there. Aarti Chetri. Aarti.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Aarti, please contact me. I have left a message for you in the group because I have to take the session on autistic children. So I need your interview for that. It's why that we have shifted that to the valedictory.
Okay, I have not seen your
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Well,
Ma'am,
ma'am, number
I have
I
the message
need to give. You need to give your number, ma'am, please.
Chalo. Thank you so much. That's really great. Any help I can be,
You have my
I'll be
number.
welcome. It'll be really nice. I would love to, anyone wants any kind of help, because I've been working on special education. Two of my students have already been through this PhD also. So this is what happened. So any help required, ma'am, I'm always there for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really
Thank
nice.
you, Manu, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you all.
connection to the program
Then connect to the national anthem.
तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष पागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे।
Thank you all. Now you can leave and we'll join next day at the same time, 12 p.m. Thank you. Thank you to all.
Okay, Ji, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sushila, ma'am.